This week, the SEC on CBS features two games between programs with no love lost for each other. One feud born long ago, and the other much more recent. In the afternoon slot, it's Georgia clashing with Auburn in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. For Auburn, the game plan might be just close your eyes, chuck it downfield, and hope for the best. After all, that strategy has worked once before.
A miracle in Jordan Hare! A miracle in Jordan Hare!
The main event starts under the lights in what is the definition of a grudge match. Last season, Jimbo Fisher became the first former assistant to beat Nick Saban when Texas A&M upset Alabama. Apparently, what really made Saban upset was when the Aggies won the recruiting race, clinching the #1 recruiting class in 2022. Alabama finished second. Back in May, Nick Saban was at an event speaking about one of the hot-button topics in college sports, name, image, and likeness. Well, Saban decided to push some buttons of his own, delivering a statement that set the sports world on fire.
A&M bought every player on their team.
Accusations that Jimbo not only strongly denied,
we never bought anybody. No rules were broken. Nothing was done wrong.
but then turned around and threw back at Saban.
Go dig into his past. You can find out anything you want to find out, what he does and how he does it. And it's despicable.
Since then, the feud has fizzled. Jimbo wants everyone to think it was just another fight between brothers.
Is that who you fight with the most? Your brothers, the people you're closest to?
Sounds like a truce,
I have no problem with Jimbo. I have no problem with Jimbo at all.
but not many are buying that. This game is also about pride, and if we've learned anything about the GOAT, he doesn't like to lose, on or off the field. So if this one just feels like it might mean a whole heck of a lot more than usual to the victor, well, that's because it will. Primetime drama in Tuscaloosa, and the entire college football world will be watching on CBS.
Welcome into CBS Sports HQ, your football happy hour. Getting you ready for week 6 in college football. Amanda Guerra, Brady Quinn, Danny Kanell here. We begin each show by going through your picks from last week. You guys, had the exact same record, I believe.
We tied. I mean, winning records, but no one likes to tie.
But I did maintain the
11
lead,
and
so
9.
that's the
You
good.
did. And your best bets, you've been crawling back in your best bets.
Let's
I think
go.
it's 3 weeks in a row.
I will say you guys had 9 Lock Unity picks
How'd that
last
go?
week.
Anything.
The most, no, we're not going to talk about that, but I will say in this show there's less than half. So a way for this to differ by the end of next week.
Yeah, it'll be a shakeup.
It'll be interesting. All right, let's jump into it. Let's begin with the SEC on CBS. We're going to go through ranked versus ranked teams. We have Auburn at Georgia here. Georgia dropping to number 2 after a close game against Mizzou, after a close game-ish against Kent State here. They're favored by 29.5. Danny, we'll start with you.
So,
What's
all right,
are you concerned
I have
for
to,
Georgia? Like, where
I
is
have
your
to
level?
know. I'm concerned,
It's a big
but
number.
it's a big number. And this is the last time I'm going to do it. All right, so hold me to
No,
it.
you say that every week.
If Georgia doesn't cover this one, then I won't do it again. Like, it's off the table. But I'm going to say this is the get-right game coming against Auburn. It's an opponent they will not overlook. It's a rivalry game for them. Plus, Auburn kind of stinks. I mean, that's the way I look at it, is Auburn is not very good. They've had to juggle quarterbacks with injuries. Their wide receiving core might be one of the worst in the SEC. They have struggled. The coach is on the hot seat. I think the players know it. This, to me, has to be a game that Georgia comes out from the get-go very intense, very alert, very in tune, and they have to execute from the start and to the finish. They haven't played a full game in the last 2 weeks because Kent State they were not great in as well. But I think this is the game that they get right, and I don't see Auburn putting up many points. I think this will be Georgia all the way.
Well, Jalen Carter's going to be out, a D-tackle for them in this matchup. That's a huge loss for arguably maybe the top overall prospect for this upcoming year's draft. And just as far as an interior player, a guy who's as disruptive as he has been. So he's not going to be a part of it. Auburn could get TJ Finley back for this game. So something to keep an eye on here if you're rooting for War Eagle to be able to make at least, I'm not saying they're going to win this game, but at least make it competitive. Look, Georgia has not been right the past couple of weeks. In fact, Stetson Bennett hasn't been right really since that big win over South Carolina. He's struggled. And we can say whatever we want about Auburn offensively because there's been some issues there. The reality is they can still run the football, and on top of that, they play good defense. They've only given up 21 points per game on average and less than 200 yards in the passing game. So this is going to be a challenge, I think, for Stetson Bennett. He's got to be one to show out what we saw early in the season where I was looking at him saying, this guy is vastly improved. He looks like he's going to be a potential draft pick. He hasn't looked the same the past couple of weeks. So there's no doubt about it, Georgia wins. But I got to see them be able to cover this number versus another SEC opponent. And we can talk about all we want about whether or not Auburn's still fighting for their coach. The reality is they were beating LSU before LSU came back in that game last week. So I'm not going to get burnt by a big number again. I'm going to take the 29.5 points. And to like Danny's point, if I lose out on this one, then I'll just start taking the favorite now and lay all this.
You guys will flip-flop next week. All right, so Georgia now number 2 in the country. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.